Hello, my lovelies. Today we will read the second chapter of the fanfiction Vinum that was written by Striker Sky. Castor began listing off the restrictions while Pollux diligently noted them down. Percy is banned from archery, fire, and anything that isn't a sword. Oh, don't forget the rope. Oh yeah, no rock walls, they continued, highlighting my previous failures. Annoyed and embarrassed, I felt it wasn't entirely my fault. It wasn't my responsibility that everything in this camp was both dangerous and fun, with kids being placed in charge. While I understood the need for safety, I had hoped to excel in one area, or at the very least, not be considered such a hazard that my brothers felt the need to implement a cabin ban. Signed and dated by both councillors, Pollux announced, handing the document to the brothers. I mumbled, "There are no councillors," crossing my arms, but not hiding my disappointment. Both boys placed their hands on their hips and leaned down at me. "There are now," they declared. It was almost comical considering the situation. At least I wasn't the only one struggling. Both Pollux and Castor had their own strengths and weaknesses. While I excelled at sword fighting and even if it wasn't a recognized skill, canoeing was fun. Even though the twins had agreed not to come along next time after getting motion sickness on a still lake. When Castor thought Pollux wasn't looking, he whispered, "We can vote against Pollux at dinner later," before going off to grab some stuff for more activities. Pollux, standing next to me, said, "Me, you, let's vote against Castor for the next activity." I couldn't help but muffle a snort. I couldn't help but notice, why is everyone keeping their distance? This stopped both boys in their tracks. An awkward tension settled in the air, and the demigods seemed reluctant to join us. Though some ignored us, there was an unspoken unease lingering in the camp. "I guess you noticed," Pollux nudged his brother. "They're kinda scared of us," he began. "Children of Dionysus aren't just good at making strawberries grow or theatre. We're also Castor whiffed his hands in the air as his brother finished. "We bring insanity and cure it," Pollux added hastily. Still, it seemed odd that in a place with magic and gods someone would be prejudiced against others. Pollux laughed nervously. "That's why we are glad you're here, Percy. Me and Castor are tired of being the only ones," they said good-naturedly. But it still stung that even among the peculiar that they weren't still considered odd. "What about Dionysus?" Pollux laughed nervously again. "That doesn't help much either. And no name's Percy. Mr. D or Dad." I sighed. "He won't help, even though he's our dad," Castor answered next. "It's not that he won't help, it's more, it just makes it worse." He slumped onto the bed. "Percy, even though Dad doesn't want to be here, we're kind of lucky. Because of his punishment, we get to see him any time we want." It hit me that the rest of the camp was. "They're jealous. While others have to pray, visit Olympus, or make sacrifices, our dad has always been here." It was said with bitterness over something he couldn't control. "That's why they hate us so much." Pollux and Castor both placed a hand on my shoulder. "Not to mention how amazing our little brother is. You defeated a Minotaur," they bragged before realizing, "Write that on the list of things Percy Jackson is not allowed to do." Good idea, Pollux. As my brothers banned me from yet another thing, I couldn't help but feel the tiniest bit of lucky to have someone. With my hand in my pocket, I remembered the blue candy, blue cookies, blue, missing my mum. Instead of the blue ocean waves, these two were more like the setting sun, with all its purple hues, both with relaxed smiles. Castus asked, "So, what should we request for dinner today?" Pollux jumped in. "Fish!" Seeing my brothers wink, I knew it was my time. My heart hurt for a moment. With watery eyes, I turned away. "Can we have blue cookies?" I asked. I knew they would never taste like my mum's, but I knew it would make me feel even the tiniest bit better. Castor blinked his lilac eyes, and I started to notice the freckles on his cheeks. For our brother's first day, anything. But you still have to eat your fish," he nagged me like a mum. "Boo!" Pollux neighed. "Oh, and let's pick out activities for after lunch." Pollux winked at me, much like his twin, reminding me that even though they were twins, they still didn't look or act exactly the same. Pollux was a bit more lively than his brother, and when he smiled, he showed off the dimples on his cheeks. Knowing the boys' affinity for plants, I asked, "Can you show me how to grow the strawberries?" "Of course," they said in unison. Both boys took my side as we headed to lunch, apparently having made the decision for me. I hadn't noticed earlier, but with both of them at my side, they created a shield protecting me from whispers of others with their own loud chatter. It was amusing how they felt the need to keep me safe, especially considering I had just defeated a Minotaur. Yet in between them I felt completely comfortable. Unfortunately, our path was blocked by a girl with more muscle than I knew a kid could have. I was blocked with Castor's arm in front of me and Pollux a step forward. She was the one who had spoken about me the loudest, calling me a liar and a cheat. What was her name? "Anything we can help you with, Clarice?" was said with an almost threatening tone. She turned up her nose and pushed her way through. "Don't think you're high and mighty because you have a liar on your side," she sneered. Pollux rolled his eyes. "Don't listen to her, Percy. She's just mad that the strawberry fields don't like her." He yelled loud enough for her to hear. "Yeah, she's just jealous," Castor shrugged. It brought a grin to my face. As we got closer to where the food was being distributed, I noticed him. Dionysus. He took a sip from the Diet Coke in his hands. My brothers saw him as well, and I noticed they too felt rather awkward around him. "Dion," I mumbled, and both my brothers slapped their hands over my mouth, stopping me from saying the name. Powerful. Oh yeah, the name's so powerful. I had already forgotten. My bad. Pollux gave me a relaxed smile. "Don't worry about it, Percy. It will take time to get used to." Castor grinned. "Come on, let's say hi. Daddy won't mind." Pollux turned. "Yeah, we both call him Daddy." "We have to make sure to say hello. Don't want to be rude and all." Internally, I screamed, "No!" "You're kidding," I said. With the serious expression on their faces, I knew better than to say otherwise. Both my arms were grabbed, and I was hauled by my elbows over to the dad I didn't know I had. As my brothers practically dragged me towards Dionysus, I couldn't help but feel the mix of embarrassment, disbelief. Calling him Daddy was something I never expected, and the idea seemed surreal. Nevertheless, the determined expression on Pollux and Castor's faces made it clear that they weren't entirely serious about this familiar term. "Hey, Daddy, look who's here," Pollux announced cheerfully as we approached Dionysius, who raised an eyebrow with the unexpected greeting. Castor, determined to prevent my escape, declared, "Daddy, we got our brother." Dionysus paused mid-drink, a flick of confusion in his eyes. "What's going on here?" he asked, more annoyed than curious, as he found himself surrounded. I took a deep breath, biting my lip before looking up. "Hi, Daddy," I said in almost a whisper. Dionysus sighed, running a hand through his messy hair. Pollux and Castor burst into laughter. I stood there feeling incredibly awkward. My father placed a hand on his head, realizing it had to be a joke given how they were laughing. "Poe, I told you not to mess with the kid. And Cal, I told you not to humor him," he yelled. "But we thought it would make you laugh," they protested. "Besides, Percy's been on edge all day." I guess they both thought this would help me relax. I felt uncertain how to address the god who was apparently my father. Pollux and Castor were smiling proudly, seemingly pleased with their introduction. I managed to stammer out a hesitant, "Hi, Mr. D?" I tried again. Dionysus rolled his eyes. "Piper." It felt weird. Hadn't he named us? If so, how was it possible that he always got our names wrong? Being thrust into this family dynamic felt strange, especially when it seemed like I was the odd one out. Dionysius naturally gravitated towards the kids he knew, leaving me on the sidelines. The stares from the campus didn't help, adding to the discomfort. "Sorry, Dad, we're busy. Gonna teach Percy about the garden and all," Pollux announced. "Sure, see you boys at dinner," Dionysus replied. "See you, Dad," Castor added. And just like that, I found myself being dragged away again, leaving the awkward encounter behind. We sat by the strawberry fields, enjoying our sandwiches in the midst of these seemingly silent plants. It was an unusual sight, witnessing the vines treat Pollux and Castor like cherished companions rather than ordinary plants. I entered the arena, some vines immediately wrapped around my feet. Castor leaned beside me, whispering, "They like you because you smell like Dad." I winced, trying to catch a whiff of my own scent. Castor chuckled. "Don't worry, it's not as bad as it sounds. We'll show you how to grow them next." Pollux took the lead, sitting on the dirt and coaxing the vines to flourish with vibrant energy. Excitement filled me as I realized I had similar powers. Eagerly I joined them. Castor placed his hands over the dirt, feeling the ground. "Until you get used to it, close your eyes. You'll see the color purple there, like wine. Pull on it, and as soon you can watch it grow." I couldn't believe it. Witnessing the strawberries grow under his touch was truly impressive. "Whoa!" I exclaimed, thoroughly impressed. Castor, proud of his skill, demonstrated more. Pollux snorted, saying, "That's nothing. Watch this." He showcased his abilities to grow an entire row of grapes. Wow. Castor, attempting to keep up with his brother, yawned, claiming, "I can do way better." The twins proceeded to showcase rows and rows of vegetables and fruits. Their ability is truly extraordinary. However, the produce seemed to multiply exponentially. While my brothers debated over which ones tasted better, I found myself drowning amidst the vines that had emerged for me. They were drawn to my scent, mimicking my father. "Castor," I called. "Pollux?" I asked, growing incredibly worried as these vines wrapped around me. attempting to fight them off proved fruitful, and as soon as they crawled up my arms and around my throat, panicking, I cried out for help. Aware of being killed by plants controlled by me would be a rather absurd fate. Percy Jackson, killer of minotaurs, death by plants he can't control. I thought, imagining the absurd headline. The vines tightened in desperation. I called upon the gods. Thought deep down I wanted my dad. Percy, a new voice echoed. I felt myself being lifted. The vines withered away with a new pair of arms pulling me up. I coughed, regaining my breath, and saw my dad. His lavender eyes wavered from a moment, displaying an unexpected hint of worry. "Dad?" I inquired. He sighed. "Pollux, Castor." A sharp yell pierced the air, and I feared I might have landed my brothers in trouble. Tapping his foot impatiently, my father scolded them. "What were you two thinking? Camp doesn't need anywhere near this much produce. You both know it's wasteful to use your powers in such manner." Shrinking under their father's reprimand, both boys appeared chastened, and I was finally placed back down on the ground. It was my fault. I did it. I just wanted to see how their blessing worked, I confessed, maintaining eye contact with my dad. For a brief moment I braced myself for the wrath of the god, expecting a blow or something. I shut my eyes tightly, anticipating a hit on my face. Instead, I felt a flick on my forehead. It wasn't exactly painful. My dad spoke. "All of you go get ready for dinner. I'll take care of this mess." I held my forehead, slightly bewildered. Castor and Pollux muttered apologies, uncertain of what to say. A hand on my back guided me away, wide-eyed and unsure if that was truly the end of my punishment. So this was chapter 2, and I hope I see you next time. Bye bye.